The metal virus is a terrifying concept brought to life by Dr. Eggman in the Sonic the Hedgehog comics published by IDW. To make a long story short, Eggman wanted to turn organic biomatter into metallic beings. These would be known as Zombots. Eventually, Super Silver and Super Sonic were able to blast it all the way to the sun, and that was the adventure. It was already a horrifying concept, as making contact with the virus meant you could be infected. Though the heroes were able to prevail, what if they didn't? What if the virus mutated or changed one's appearance into a freakish, horrifying monster? This is the Metal Apocalypse, and it is way worse than the original virus we know. Made by Phelan Animalia, this alternate universe takes the metal virus and makes more horror out of it, and I love it. The stakes are higher, and the creatures, man, they are terrifying. So in this video, I'm going to explain the lore and throw some of my own thoughts out there as we go on. If you want to support the artist, the link for them will be down in the description below. They have commissions open, so if you like their art style, be sure to send support their way. But before we talk about that, let's talk about what else is scary. Smelling bad. Lucky for you, I know just the thing. Cheeky is the best soap you can buy, and they support your favorite YouTubers, like me. But considering it's the holiday season, you guys should get the naughtier nice soap bars. On Team Naughty, you got Moist Critical, and on Team Queso, you got Nice. Personally, I'm on Team Nice, but both smell fantastic. Be jolly, smell better, and maybe this smell can fight off your skin, turning to complete metal. Don't actually try that. Use code Dunkachi to get 10% off and buy some good soap. And yes, one day I will get better at timing these. But without further ado, let's jump into the worst case scenario. Like with a lot of these infection AUs, there are character sheets that give us a little bit of a preview into the story and who is currently alive before reading the actual comic itself. Though, before talking about Tails, however, I want to show you guys why this metal virus keeps me up at night. There are 5 stages to the infection, and there's an example of what they will go through and what will happen over time. Unfortunately, the example is Tangle. Poor Tangle. It starts at stage 0. Patches of metallic substance spread through their body, only taking 5 to 10 minutes for the virus to spread. Even in stage 0, it's contagious. And I feel like this is probably one of the worst stages to be in, because while it might be reversible, you have to think, you know that you're infected, and those 5 to 10 minutes might feel like forever as you feel your body start to turn metallic. You haven't lost your sense of self yet. And you're contagious, so you have to stay away from your friends because you don't want them to be infected. Stage 1 has them engulfed in the metallic substance. They lose their self-identity. It was said to be unkillable, but they found a way. It's violent, contagious just by touch, still recognizable. At this stage, I imagine it would be very difficult because you can recognize your friend, but you know it's probably too late. The virus has them completely, and it's you or them at that point. Stage 2 has them becoming even more aggressive, and they become stronger. Stage 3 is distortion, when the body horror is truly shown. Its body is breaking apart. It's slowly rusting. Stage 4 is corrosion, and it's at this point it can't be reversed. It may be a little slower in this phase, but still incredibly dangerous. Eventually, its body will break apart and spread like a web made by a spider. Tangle will release lethal gas and can never move again. These are the 5 stages of the metal infection, and it is absolutely terrifying. Simply by touch, this can happen. So now that we understand what's on the line and just how terrible this virus is, let's take a look at who the story tells us about first, then we'll take a look at the comic. Tails is alive, but he looks incredibly tired. He's working with Eggman to find a cure, and he was able to find out that carbon fiber is safe against the metal virus. It's what they will be using in order to defend themselves. It's also here we find out that poor Sonic has been infected, which is why he's exhausted working all the time. Amy, thankfully, is also alive. She takes care of Tails because Sonic isn't around anymore and leads the group alongside Knuckles. taking management over the rebellion and its expeditions. Gotta say, so far, the designs are spectacular and the art style is very visually appealing. Even the infected look creepy and uncomfortable. Speaking of, Sonic. This is tragic. He only repeats the name Tails, almost like he's begging for Tails to find a cure, like there's a piece of him left. He's in stage 3 and it's almost too late for him. Tails has a tracker on him to see where he goes, and is constantly trying to figure out a way to bring his best friend back, hence why he's so tired. The first comic shows Amy walking to give Tails food, and he seems to be annoyed by this. Tails tries to brush Amy off, but Amy insists that he take a break and let her watch the tracker. Miles gets mad at this, saying it's his brother and only he can. Amy is just worried for him because he's barely eating and he barely sleeps, and she just wants him to be okay. She pleads with him, and eventually he agrees to eat with the group. This is beautifully illustrated and sets the tone for just how dire things are. Things are so dire, even Shadow has been infected, but his infection is a unique case. Shadow has been in stage 1 for 6 months, and though he started out aggressive, it's slowed down. He's also avoiding the other infected for some reason. We find out a bit more about his condition, but we'll come back to him. As mentioned before, Knuckles is alive with a banger design. He's amputated his arm to prevent becoming infected, and is covered almost completely in fiber to have protection against the infection. He's constantly stressed because Rouge has a sudden sickness and his responsibilities. Though there's something interesting. Crossed out are the words, "I did what I had to," which means he's had to sacrifice something or make some difficult decisions. Metal Sonic is here as well, and he appears to be holding Tails' doll, and it actually has a practical use. Metal can track the infected through the doll, which I think is an awesome detail. Metal Sonic is, of course, immune, and has been docile since Eggman told him to be. It's also said that Metal Sonic has been hanging around Tails a little too much, though when he needs to, he will fight alongside Silver to defeat the infected. I think another cute detail is that Amy doodles on him from time to time, and I just think that's precious. Listen, I'll take any wholesomeness I can get given the circumstances. The next comic shows that something has been off about Knuckles. Amy still trains with Knuckles and talks to him, but he's been distant for some reason. Amy tries to ask around to see if they know anything, but nobody says anything. Eggman just teases her and she concludes that he doesn't know anything. She was going to ask Silver, but he's always busy trying to keep everyone safe, so she asks the next best person, SBO. SBO says he'll check it out, and using his camouflage ability, he spies on Knuckles. The last slide shows a horrifying reveal. Amy's words playing over in SBO's head as he watches flames spread. What does this mean? We don't know yet, but whatever Knuckles is doing, he's being secretive about it, and it traumatized SBO. We will find out soon enough, but that's the end of the second comic. The next batch of character sheets are here, and first up is Silver. Silver is pretty beaten up, but due to his immunity, Silver is the main line of defense against the Zombots, usually taking SBO or Metal Sonic with him, though he's incredibly selfless and never wants supplies wasted on him. Alright, next up on the character sheet is SBO, and boy does he look cool. He's got a little cloak and has bracelets to remember his team because you'll see soon enough. Though after what happened, he's avoiding Knuckles. The words, "he was just a kid," crossed out. The group clearly isn't communicating very well and is sheltering information that will protect them but ultimately will divide them. Charmy and Vector have both fallen to the virus, Charmy's sheet being particularly interesting. He's about ready to transition to stage 5 and is the only one who can detect SBO when he's invisible. If you'll notice, it says, "I'm sorry, SBO," and right beside it, it says Charmy is afraid of fire. You can see where this might be going. Blood warning to those who hate blood. Vector is essentially a powerhouse and is said to be the most dangerous Zombot. He's so strong, you won't have a chance to be infected. It really exaggerates his strength, and I can only imagine the damage he can inflict in stage 4 or 5. If we move on to something more positive, Rouge is here. She's forced to stay at the base due to an unknown illness, and this is where something strange is revealed. I never thought I would see this in a Sonic comic, but she's pregnant and hasn't told Knuckles. She's not sure how to bring it up, so she just tells him it's an illness. Omega also never leaves her side. Keep in mind, this is a more mature and horrifying setting, and you know what? It's bold, and honestly, I really want to know what the baby would look like. I can't lie. What would it be? A bat echidna? A kidnap? Bat kidna? Maybe we'll find out. Maybe. Omega is here, but he's not doing too great. I do find it really funny that he tried to kill Eggman, so he looks like this and can't be around Eggman because, you know, he's gonna try to take him out. I think the detail is incredibly true to his character. He has a mini flamethrower in case of emergency, and he keeps Knuckles from touching Rouge because she's pregnant. A very adorable detail. Poor guy has one purpose in life and had to downsize because he almost did it. Blaze is here, and the design is to die for. The Soul Emeralds called her to Sonic's dimension. Tails had a tracker to indicate her arrival in case she ever came to their dimension, but something went wrong. She's missing, and the words "it only went off for a second" are crossed out. Whisper is here and will only listen to Knuckles' commands. To her, these are nothing but targets. She's incredibly unstable given her sanity stat. Alright, now that we understand the characters, it's about time that we move on to the third comic, titled Princess's Lullaby. And this tells us what happened to Blaze. Tails informs Rouge that Blaze's detector went off. When she arrives, everything around her is metallic. Charmy is seen. Metal is scattered everywhere as Blaze stares at it in horror. Behind her was something even worse. Vector has found her, and we'll have to see what happens in part 2. But first, we've got a few more characters to look at. Eggman seems to be doing okay. He knows everyone wants him dead, but he's much more valuable alive. Though he's a bit annoyed at Metal for being receptive towards Tails, but oddly, not him. I speculate that Tails actually did something to Metal Sonic, as a little later he starts to just call him Sonic. Strange. Cream has one of my favorite designs out there right now, as the style fits her incredibly well. She's kept completely sheltered from the world, but she has frequent nightmares about her mom. Why? Well, because Vanilla looks like this. Cream, I'm not gonna lie to you. You're brave for sleeping at all, because if I saw this, I wouldn't sleep. Ever. Apparently it just watches. It's stage 4, but it doesn't attack or anything. It's apparently surprisingly easy to bump into. No thank you. I would rather die than accidentally bump into this. It's still fascinating given its demeanor. Luckily, Cream has a badass robot friend to keep her company. Gerbil is here, and he promised Vanilla he would watch over Cream. He literally doesn't care for anyone else and only wants to protect Cream, and I think that's awesome. However, he carries the weight of knowing that almost everyone she cared about is gone. Unfortunately, she's gonna find out at some point. Speaking of depression, Shadow has his own comic. It basically shows a mysterious Teneric encountering the infected hedgehog, but in his eyes, he sees Maria. He fights with himself for a moment, shouting, screaming Maria's name, then with his wings, he flies away. Shadow's condition and his effects is really interesting, and it goes to show you that these effects are personalized in some way. Alright, new survivors. Mighty is here, and he's pretty beaten up, but missing. He has no protective gear, and they aren't sure how he's alive. Ray is also alive, and they speculate there is another group of survivors. He can't glide anymore, and the unknown Teneric from before is here as well, and oddly enough, she carries a gun. It's ineffective against Zombots. Tails remarks how this is strange. I wanted to show off this art since it shows Espio's struggle of his old missing group, and he's the only one who survived. Alright, now for the continuation of what happened to Blaze. Metal Sonic and Amy are scouting the area to find Blaze. Amy notices blood on a metallic flower. Moments later, Metal Sonic finds Blaze. She's completely bloodied, her eye is scratched, and she's missing limbs. Amy enters a complete panic, but Metal notices something miraculous. Blaze wouldn't fall so easily, and he signs out the word, alive. We see an updated sheet of Vector who had his whole left side melted by Blaze, and his jaw was fused to his arm. Still incredibly dangerous and strong, but given Blaze's abilities, it made sense why she put up so much of a fight. We'll follow up with her condition, but there are new characters to the story. Jet's crew is here. Jet himself blames everyone for housing Eggman, and he's been looking for Wave. He's pretty bitter, but he's also been tasked to find the Chaos Emerald since he can travel pretty easily. Wave is missing, and with her, a Chaos Emerald. Storm has been infected, now entering stage 2. He sacrificed himself for Jet after Wave disappeared. His ability is incredible eyesight and has been screeching that will only get louder with time. It's likely Jet blames himself for Storm dying and pushes his pain onto others since he lost his friends. And also Eggman was to blame. Speaking of friends, Big the Cat is in stage 5. And in case you are wondering, Big covers an entire area with toxic gas that's never ending. It's so bad the area is completely off limits. This is a miserable existence, but we get a small comic where Tails gives Metal Sonic the ability to talk. I'm 100% betting he sounds like Sonic. And I want to stop and go back to visit Big for a second because I can't emphasize how big Big is. It's weird to say that. This guy is probably the size of a small city or maybe even larger than that. Absolutely horrifying. Okay, now we can go back to depression. Blaze is kept alive by the Soul Emerald. A month has passed, but she's stable. No word has been heard from her kingdom. I know things might look bleak for her, but I'm hoping she gets a cool robotic limb or limbs, and she can help the group fight since, well, her ability is fire. But after this, something interesting happens. Infinite broadcasts a message to everyone, and this is where the story completely takes a turn. A new sheet for characters made specifically for the Survivor group, known as Paradise, and Infinite is its leader. He promises safety to everyone using the ruby, but the writer is skeptical. He's also adamant on catching Shadow and punishes anyone who is a repeat offender, while Mimic does everything else. Mimic does a lot of the management for Paradise and handles punishments. Mimic will also use shapeshifting to spy on our heroes. The next character is the secret Teneric we saw earlier, and this is Shura. And interesting enough, she has a wisp named Surge. Apparently, they help the heroes with repairs sometimes, even though Paradise doesn't like them. Remember that I said this. I am saying this to throw you off. Alright, time for the next comic. This shows Silver reflecting on his purpose, but when Blaze came to this dimension, he came storming in. Silver is pissed at Vector and yells he's going to kill him, but standing next to him is Espio, in tears. The moment is tense, and Silver is upset he couldn't protect her. I suspect at some point Vector will have to be taken out, and Espio is going to lose Team Chaotix, but only time will tell. We have a character sheet of Shadow, and he's still in Phase 1. Also, I know I said it was the heroes earlier. This is where I needed to pay attention. And I only did that because, again, I wanted to throw you off. Who is actually writing the Paradise character sheets? It's Bella. Zombots are said to ignore her because of him, so we can assume the Phantom Ruby hides them from these creatures. She's immune to the virus and can't wander around without surveillance. She primarily does maintenance and takes care of the Wisp. She also doesn't trust Infinite. So far, I love this double agent thing she has. She's trying to secretly connect with the heroes and her dad. For those of you who don't know, Bella was created by Eggman, so this was a character I honestly never expected to see in one of these AUs, but the twist is welcomed, and I guess it does come from the IDW comics. And I can see why she doesn't trust Infinite. Okay, so this is post-recording, and I think I realized something as I was watching this back. Shadow is holding Tails doll. The only person that holds Tails doll is Metal Sonic. Bella says that he's been wandering around, and Tails doll is usually used for a scouting unit. So either Metal Sonic got his ass kicked, or Shadow has somehow joined the Team Hero, or they tricked Shadow into joining Team Hero. I'm not entirely sure on that, but it is a pretty interesting case. Mighty and Ray have joined Paradise, or have been a part of Paradise, but we get a look behind the scenes. According to Bella, Mighty was friendly when he was first rescued, but now he's scary. Anyone who messes up enough will go with him and Infinite, and they never return. Ray, on the other hand, is much more harmless. He stays with Bella and the Wisp, having his scarf knitted by Bella. How cute! He used to pick constant fights with Mimic and Infinite, and as a result, got his wing torn off. Ray is forced into a terrible position, either join the ranks of Paradise or be thrown out into the Metal Apocalypse. While they may have some sort of protection, they have to face cruel punishments if they step out of line. Ray has become compliant out of fear. Infinite is protecting them, but only if you do what he says. I think he's going to use that against anyone who questions him, either join him or turn to Metal. Speaking of Metal, Sonic, but not Metal Sonic, Sonic Infected. He's in stage 3 still, constantly repeating Tails' name. Even though he's slower than before, he's still faster than pretty much anyone else. His stats are maxed out, and above it, Tails wrote he's fine. It's clear Tails is very much in denial about this, not wanting to accept that soon enough, Sonic will be gone. Even if the process has slowed down, if you ask me, I think Tails might be lying here. I think Sonic is way closer to stage 4, if not already there in his own way, given his corroded body and more holes and how he's sort of changed design. I just think Tails doesn't want that to be the case, and that's purely speculative. And for all of you Starline fans out there, the comic shows what happened. And it reminded me of how cruel Eggman actually is. Starline wanted to get control of the Zeddy, but their files had been wiped for some reason. Orbot and Cubot find him wandering about and throw him into a vat of infection. It's why they look like this now. Yeah. This is absolutely miserable. What's odd is there is no progression of the stages, just this. We also get a glimpse into what happened to Sonic and why he's repeating this over and over. It's really fascinating because while Sonic repeats the name Tails over and over again, he's said to still have harmed others. So it's not to the same effect that Shadow has, rather he's mimicking the things he said before he turned. And to make things worse, in the next comic, which I've had you guys wait long enough for, we're going to figure out what SBO saw. Part 1, Goodbye to a Friend, shows SBO having his world shattered. Knuckles is going out on a mission. Rouge wants to come with, but clearly isn't in a position to do so. So Knuckles takes Whisper with him and they head out. While exiting Angel Island, they find the Lurker. Whisper is about to destroy it, but Knuckles says not to melt anyone unnecessarily, and she's not a target. SBO is listening to this and he's confused. Up until this point, others didn't know anything about what they do to certain infected. After all, SBO has been with Silver this entire time, and they handle things differently. Knuckles and Whisper reach their destination, and it's where Charmy is. Doing what he believes is best, Knuckles disintegrates Charmy to ash. SBO watches as he does this. A picture of his friend shows, and his world shatters. SBO is short on breath, rushing home. He slams open the door to Silver's room and immediately wraps his arms around him, sobbing. Charmy is gone now, and he doesn't know how he's gonna tell Amy. She's counting on him, but he's not strong enough to tell her the truth. And that's the end of the comics and what is currently available. However, we do have some more survivors. Orbot and Cubot, Tikal, who is a spirit, Chaos, who is a spirit, and Lanolin. I love the use of all the IDW comic characters since this takes place in that universe. Tikal and Chaos keep Angel Island safe, but it's draining them. Tikal only talks to Knuckles and calls Tails a monster, likely for keeping Sonic alive and risking the lives of his friends for a selfish reason. Not only do both the groups have to deal with the horrifying metal apocalypse outside, but there's tension going on in both groups involved. The heroes aren't communicating and Tails is being selfish. They trust each other, but only to a certain extent. Paradise punishes those who don't follow Infinite, and while the infection is easier to manage, it also means that your will is taken from you. Your choices are not your own, and emotion is weakness. This is further elaborated on in both the Tails Q&A and Infinite Takeover, but those could honestly be a video on its own since a lot of stuff is answered about the lore and what each character thinks. But those are also biased since it's told from the character's perspective. This infection AU goes past just worrying about the infection. There's tension between Paradise and the heroes. Tension built within themselves. The art style, the story, and even the characters come together to make an amazing narrative. One I can't wait to read more. And another thing I want to bring up, Eggman being sheltered obviously is controversial, and I fear that in this version, he's not trying to find a cure. I think he's trying to find some sort of way to take over the current Zombots and build his empire. Now, entirely speculative. I have no proof of that. It's just an idea off the top of my head, but I think it would be a very interesting turn of events, and it would kind of make the heroes feel absolutely terrible about themselves because they've been sheltering this guy now they have to deal with all of their friends turning, and if he finds a way and that they were helping him develop this, that would be a crazy turn of events. I honestly would love to see how they think that they could beat him then, but I don't think that's the direction of the story, but it would be an interesting outcome. It's like the ultimate bad ending. Though that's it for now. I'm glad you guys are liking these infection AU stories because I've actually been having a lot of fun researching them and putting it together. And it shows that the Sonic horror community can come up with some pretty compelling narratives. I do notice that these videos tend to share a pattern of using character sheets, but in my opinion, I think it adds to the story. You're only getting a glimpse into what's going on, and when the character sheets are made by someone in universe, it's all the more interesting because are they shifting the narrative or are they being truthful? I trust Bell, but Tails, he's guilt-ridden, but doesn't want to let go of his brother. Be sure to support the original creator in the description and use code Dunkachi on your cheeky order for 10% off the best soap you can find. Subscribe, and remember, stay spooky.